Hi everyone, this is Melvin Lim, Property Lim Brothers. Now today we are at Ask Property Lim Brothers episode 10. We'll also use this episode as the kickstart to our first education investor series for buyers and investors looking to invest in properties in Singapore. So this episode itself, we're going to address a few different things. So number one thing that we're going to talk about today is what is the key behavior of a new launch property upon its TOP stage, and also how does that compare to a resale property's performance and behavior as well in terms of pricing movement. So let's have a look at what is the general behavior of the owners that have already invested into all the new launches when they will launch at the show flat and while waiting towards the TOP period 3 to 4 years later. So generally, for example, let's say you actually purchase a new launch today at let's say a $1 million mark. And probably this new launch that you have purchased works out to be about maybe 1,004 or let's say 1,005 PSF for let's say a two-bedder property. And this development itself comprises of 800 units. And out of the 800 units, the two-bedder that you bought has probably about 250 units, which are two beds. And the rest of the units, let's say another 250, one bedder, and the rest of the units, let's say 350 units, all belongs to the 3 and the 4 bedders. So what's going to happen is, this is now year 2019, and let's say 2022 or 2023, you actually have a wait of 3 to 4 years towards the TOP date. Now, for those who are not sure what it's called, TOP is basically the temporary occupation permit, which is the day that the developer actually writes to your lawyer, and your lawyer informs you that you can now book an appointment with the developer to collect the keys, check your defects, and then you can commence to actually renovate your place, move in, or you want to rent out. So it's entirely up to you. So the place actually is ready for occupation. Now, let's assume you're one of the person here, the 250 units that bought the two bedders at $1 million, and 3 to 4 years later, at year 2022, 2023, you got your keys, and then somebody walks up to you and say, hey, I love this new project that's just TOP, and I'm a newlywed, I want to buy something that is ready, I don't want to wait. Can you sell this property to me at $1 million? Now the key question is that, will you sell the property back to this person after waiting 3 to 4 years for $1 million, the same price that you bought? Definitely you wouldn't. And you would definitely not sell at $1 million. Likely, probably you might say, okay, I waited 3 to 4 years. I've invested my 25% down payment initially. I took a 75% loan, progressive payment along the way. Minimum, maybe I want to sell at about 1.15 million to let's say about 1.2 million. If there's a buyer, if there's no buyer that's willing to pay this price, probably I would just continue to rent out or just stay in the property. Since I bought it at $1 million, I'm in no need and no hurry to actually sell it at the same price that I bought. But will you actually be the only one that is thinking of this mindset and this mentality? Likely not. And likely all the people that bought the two-bedder, the 250 units, so your 245 other neighbors will likely think the same way as yourself, because they all bought at around the same per square foot, depending on which level, which facing, but more or less you all bought it at about that price range. And everyone likely will have this one-off period whereby everybody would think the same way. And this is what we call the one-off advantage. And the one-off advantage of a new launch development is that this is the only one time in the whole life cycle of a new launch project that everybody will think the same way, and everybody will have a target price that they're willing to exit if somebody is willing to pay the price. So the key thing is, the moment one unit gets resold in the resale market, and let's say one unit gets sold at 1.15 million, that forms the new benchmark for the entire development for the two bedders itself. And the rest of the owners will then benefit from this upsurge in terms of valuation, because the next unit that wants to sell their two-bedder, basically when they call their banks, the banks check with their valuers, they do a desktop valuation, and they see a transaction being lodged, that will actually form the new benchmark. Which is why for TOP projects, new developments, they usually enjoy this one-off advantage, because everybody thinks the same way. Now let's have a look at how the resale properties then behave. Okay, so let's have a look at how the resale property then behave. Now, resale property behaves in a couple of different ways. Now, probably the key difference between the one-off advantage a new launch have versus a resale property is that resale property, let's say for example there's 600 over units in this development that has been built from, let's say, 2010, and then TOP is 2014 and today is 2019. So what happens is that there's actually a few different groups of people. There's a first group that actually bought during the launch. Probably during that era, they would have bought at about maybe $800 per square foot. And then when it TOPs, probably they would have then sold it into the resale market when they collected their keys at about maybe 1,000 per square foot. And then in today's market, probably it would have now been maybe about 1,001 to about 1,002 per square foot, depending on the performance of this project in this particular location, whether there has been any new master plan development, new MRT station, or has there been an upsurge in terms of the volume of transactions and stuff like that, and how popular is this development itself, because every project performs differently. But the key thing is that, for example, let's say if you were to be somebody that is buying today, you are entering into a mixed bag of owners who have entered the development at different pricing, because this project is in the resale market for a couple of years already. Everybody actually entered at different ranges. So technically speaking, this development has already enjoyed its one-off advantage during the TOP period. So how does usually a resale property increase or appreciate in prices? It actually depends on whether gradually, as the years goes by, is there an increment gradually in terms of transaction volume. For example, let's say in 2019 January, a 3-bedder was sold at 1.3 million. Then maybe in 2019 February, and 3-bedder is sold at 1.31 million, and then let's say in May another 3-bedder was sold at 1.33 million. So the gradual increment that the buyers are willing to pay in the resale market can cause a gradual uptrend in terms of the valuation, because end of the day, when a buyer pays for a resale unit, they will definitely call their banker and ask how much valuation can you match for this asking price. And most buyers, they are influenced by the valuation of the property, and the valuation is then determined by how much that the valuers are willing to match based on the latest transaction in a couple of past months. And unless this property has superb renovation that the buyers are willing to pay on and above the valuation that the bankers give to them, because probably the previous owner has spent maybe 100,000 or 50,000 to renovate the place, and this new buyer thinks that, okay, by paying maybe 20-30k above the last transactor is worth it because I'm buying over the renovation, then that can actually increase the benchmark price of the development itself. So a gradual uptrend is possible if there's very frequent transactions, and every transaction has a gradual increment, and that will cause the increment in the resale condo itself. Another reason is if there is an en bloc fever, like what has happened in the past year in 2017-2018, is that the en bloc fever actually adds a lot of positive news and confidence to the market. So buyers are a bit more upbeat, the media is reporting very positive news, and because of this upbeat momentum, banks also have a little bit more risk appetite. They're able to match valuations a little bit higher than last done. Buyers are more confident, they're willing to pay a little bit more, and that can also cause an increment in the resale prices. So basically the key difference is that for resale, it depends on transaction volume, sentiments. New launch, there's always this one-off advantage that we're talking about when it TOPs, and from then on, it will then start the gradual increment depending on the volume itself. So for example, the last thing that we want to share is if, let's say, a project has very stagnant transactions, that could potentially be something that the owners were a little bit concerned about, because if, let's say, for a project with very few transactions and the price range is also always being very stagnated in terms of the transacted pricing, then the valuation then could not be that upbeat compared to a project with very frequent transactions. So we hope that that answers the question, and catch us on our next episode.